Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley virtual worship service here on Facebook Live. My name is Reverend Kristen Grassel-Schmidt, and I'm one of the co-ministers of this congregation. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to welcome and care for one another better. When the world isn't experiencing a global pandemic, we have in-person worship on Sundays at 11 a.m. But thankfully, the church is a community, not a building. So whether we gather in person or here online, it is so good to be together. Before we really get started, I invite you to take a minute and prepare for worship. If you have a candle and a way to light it, take a second and go get those things so that you can kindle your own flame when it's time to light the flaming chalice. At certain times, we will encourage you to participate in the service. We hope you'll sing along during the songs and that you'll help create the feeling of community by typing in the comment section when we invite you to do so. This is a time for us to be together, to connect with one another across the physical distances that separate us. Finally, if we run into any technical difficulties, please accept our apologies ahead of time. And know that we're working to improve each of our online services that we offer. And now, in the words of the Faith Rocket team, for those who've been laid flat by the news of the day, and those who've been baffled at how things got like this, and those who've been wondering when things will turn around. And maybe this is all of us, a little bit lost and a little bit dazed. Let this time together be healing water poured out over you, over all of your tired life and your weary self, which has been laboring so hard. Let renewal begin this hour through the power of a song that we all sing together. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see gladness in the air. Over my head, I see gladness in the air. Over my head, I see gladness in the air. There must be a God somewhere.
Now, whether you have your candle ready or you're lighting the inner chalice within your heart, let us light our chalice together. I invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, "I carry the flame in," with the town or city you're joining us from. Let us begin. We have gathered today, not here, but now. Apart and yet together, one in purpose, one in spirit, one in song. We light this flaming chalice with gratitude for the many ways we are warmed and brightened by our connections to one another, the strands of love and community that bind us together wherever we are. And now, please join with me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Good morning from my house. My name is Catherine Boyle, and I am happy to be the acting director of family ministry here at UUCB, both in the flesh and online. Today I have a story to share with you guys for Time for All Ages. So if you're feeling in the spirit and you're sitting at home and you want to get into the spirit like we're at church, I invite those who are young and young at heart to sit down on the floor, if that makes you feel comfortable, or if you want to lean against the wall. So this story comes from a guy you may have heard of. His name is Hans Christian Andersen, and he was one of the first collectors of fairy tales. So this story is called The Snowdrop. The snow lay deep, for it was winter time. The winter winds blew cold, but there was one house where all was snug and warm. And in the house lay a little flower. In its bulb it laid underneath the earth and the snow. One day rain fell and trickled through the ice and the snow down into the ground. And presently a sunbeam, pointed and slender, pointed down to the earth and tapped on the bulb. "Come in," said the little flower. "I can't do that," said the sunbeam. "I'm not strong enough to lift the latch, and I shall be stronger when springtime comes." "When will it be spring?" asked the flower of every little sunbeam that rapped on its door. But for such a long time it was winter, and the ground was still covered with snow, and every night there was ice in the water, and the flower grew so tired of waiting. "How long is it?" it said. "I feel so cramped. I must stretch myself up and rise just a little. I must lift the latch and look out and say good morning to the spring." So the flower pushed and pushed and pushed, and the walls were softened by the rain and warmed a little by the sunbeam. So the flower shot up from under the snow with a pale green bud on its stalk and some long narrow leaves on either side. It was biting cold. "You're a little early," said the wind and the weather. But every sunbeam sang, "Welcome!" And the flower raised up its head from the snow and unfolded itself, pure, white, and decked with green stripes. It was the weather to freeze to pieces. Such a delicate little flower. But it was stronger more than anyone knew. It stood in its little white dress in the white snow, bowing its head when the snowflakes fell, and raising it again to smile at the sunbeam. And every day it grew sweeter. "Oh," shouted the children as they ran into the garden, "see the snowdrop! There it stands, so pretty, so beautiful. The first the only one. And in some ways, these days, spent mostly at home, feel like being snowed in. Yet, as the story goes, even after the biggest blizzard, sunbeams still manage to pierce the earth. It's important for us all to stay home, to make sure that we don't catch the virus or pass it along. But it's also important for us to remember the promise of the sunbeam. And remember that though these days at home may last a long time, they will not last forever. The blizzard keeping us cooped up will thaw. Spring will come, and the fullness of life will return in us and with us once more. You may return to your seats.
And now please center yourselves, get comfortable in your seats, take a few deep breaths, and prepare yourself for our time of prayer and quiet reflection. Holy One, precious God of our hearts, we come into this moment of listening, of receiving, of waiting, of trusting. We know that there are those in our community who are sad, who are grieving, who have suffered, who are in need. If you have a sorrow or other burden that we can hold with you, please share it in the comments now as we take a few moments of silence. We know also that even in these difficult times there is great joy and things to find gladness in. If you have a joy or an appreciation a small or great celebration you would like to share with our community, you can do so in the comments now to let us all know and be glad together. For all that has been shared, we hold it together. And we finish with continuing the words of our prayer. May we be stubborn in the faith that love wins in the end, even though for a long time in our lives and in this world it may not seem like it. With that vision of the beloved community, may our words and deeds be every hour in the service of love. Amen.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Our reading today is called Consolation by Wisława Szymborska, with translation by Claire Kavanaugh. Darwin. They say he read novels to relax, but only certain kinds. Nothing that ended unhappily. If anything like that turned up, enraged, he flung the book into the fire. True or not, I'm ready to believe it. Scanning in his mind so many times and places, he'd had enough of dying species, the triumph of the strong over the weak, the endless struggles to survive, all doomed sooner or later. He'd earned the right to happy endings, at least in fiction with its diminutions. Hence the indispensable silver lining, the lovers reunited, the families reconciled, the doubts dispelled, fidelity rewarded, fortunes regained, treasures uncovered, stiff-necked neighbors mending their ways, good names restored, greed daunted, old maids married off to worthy parsons, troublemakers banished to other hemispheres, forgers of documents tossed down the stairs, seducers scurrying to the altar, orphans sheltered, widows comforted, pride humbled, wounds healed over, prodigal sons summoned home, cups of sorrow thrown into the ocean, handkerchiefs drenched with tears of reconciliation, general merriment and celebration. And the good dog Fido, gone astray in the first chapter, turns up barking gladly in the last.
So these days of sheltering in place are likely to last longer than we initially expected. In the terms of our Time for All Ages story, the winter of our hearts is not yet over, and it may be a while before the spring comes. So what does love look like over the long haul? What does perseverance feel like, not only for a little while, but for however long this season of social distancing must last? These questions remind me of something acclaimed writer Isabel Allende wrote. We don't even know how strong we are until we are forced to bring that hidden strength forward. In times of tragedy, of war, of necessity, people do amazing things. The human capacity for survival is awesome. One of the places we are seeing incredible strength and capacity for survival is in our nation's hospitals right now. Doctors, nurses, medical aides, chaplains, all sorts of support staff are working heroically every single day, placing themselves in danger in order to help others. We are so lucky to have the Reverend Teresa Hardy, one of UUCB's community ministers, join us for a holy conversation today. Teresa works as a chaplain at Sutter Solano Medical Center in Vallejo, and I am going to try to share our screen. No, I'm not. Just kidding. I'm going to try to. There we go. Okay, so now people will be able to see both of us. So yeah, we are so lucky to have the Reverend Teresa Hardy, one of UUCB's community ministers, with us for this holy conversation today. Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
So Teresa is joining us. She also, like me, has a number of little kids at home. So we are so thankful to Teresa for joining us today, knowing that it is not always easy to schedule quiet time when we have kids at home. So yeah. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you do at the hospital where you work?
Sure. So I'm a palliative care chaplain. So I work with a team, an RN and a social worker. And what we do is not hospice, but it's actually talking to people who have chronic conditions. Mm-hmm. And especially in the midst of this crisis, we talk to people who are looking at goals of care. We do a lot of work around advanced directives, end of life, what people would want their life to look like. Mm-hmm. And it may not mean that they have 6 months or less that's usual with hospice, but when they continue to come in and do treatment, what kind of do they want? How long do they want it? So really we do a lot of listening and a lot of helping people plan for the future.
It's really important work. So given the work that you do, I'm curious, where have you seen examples of the human capacity for survival recently?
Well, I actually had a pretty amazing day on Thursday. As you know, unfortunately, in our hospitals right now, it's really scary. Staff are scared, but present and want to be there. Things are changing day to day. But one of the things that's happened is that there's a no visitor policy right now. And that's most hospitals and nursing facilities, skilled nursing, assisted living. And so for critically ill patients or patients that are going into surgery, who we speak with a lot, it's really difficult. So I had an 80-year-old gentleman who was getting ready for surgery on Friday, who wanted to have Sacrament of the Sick, which is the Roman Catholic blessing for before surgery or before death, which is really important. And usually I call in a priest for that.
Yeah.
But the priest can come in, I can come in. So we did FaceTime, and the priest was generous in Vallejo and did this blessing. I was able to be present, and it meant so much to the patient. So it was an amazing use of technology that sometimes we think is not so wonderful and distance us. And it was the intention given for Sacrament of the Sick. And so this gentleman and his family really could feel relieved that this had happened.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing so many different ways that people are using technology, you know, in innovative ways that we have never used them before. And like, what an amazing way to make sure that that person's spiritual needs got met.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done that.
Wow.
It's really glad to just be able to do that and offer something for them.
So I'm just curious, we keep hearing stories on the news and on social media about hospital staff not having access to all of the supplies that they need. Has that been your experience so far? Are there not enough masks at the hospital where you work?
Well, actually, I asked our administration because Tuesday I actually did a blessing of the hands for staff because they're so fast, and I was able to do that. So we do have supplies where we are. The issue is that if we get a influx of patients that need, as one doctor was saying on the news, I think it was the New York Times, that need, 5 to 6 people in a room, and all of those people need the same personal protective equipment. So we don't have enough for that. So for the first time yesterday when I went to work, I was given, when I walked in, a mask that I wear all day because I'm with patients for more than 10 minutes, keeping my distance, but sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not. I put it in a paper bag with my name on it, and I keep it for the day. So even those hospitals that have the equipment, they're worried and they're trying to plan for this ever-changing future. So it really is a large need. They want to make sure that they have the N95 masks for the ICU staff, the ER staff, the folks that are going to be there dealing with COVID-19 patients. But it was a new reality to walk into yesterday.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I think this is a new reality for all of us in different ways, but it's, I think, I think I can speak for all of us when I say, how thankful I am for the work that people in hospitals are doing right now. So thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing for the doctors and nurses and everyone that you work with. So finally, earlier in our service this morning, we heard a reading about Darwin's love of novels and how they gave him hope. And so maybe it's novels like Darwin, or maybe it's the human capacity for survival, or the amazing things that people are doing all around us every day. But in the midst of this new reality, what's giving you hope?
Well, in the hospital setting, I think it's definitely the staff that continue to show up. I saw, one of our nurses in the ER yesterday who's about 6 to 7 months pregnant, and she had her and was still showing up to work. And so, seeing people who are frightened and have families and want to protect them, but this is their job and this is what they want to do. And there's also a great deal of people in our hospitals without, any things happening with coronavirus that are sick. And so just seeing the staff that still want to be there and care for them, and seeing their generosity of spirit. And also, I have to say, having kids, that this afternoon, our teachers at our school are having a parade for our kids. They're all driving by. And
oh my gosh.
And we've been doing things in our neighborhood, like how to have a bear hunt. And so we have teddy bears in our windows. Our neighbors have teddy bears in their windows. So and all this is through social media too. And so again, I think I've been just most heartened by the way that people are wanting to continue to offer hope and just something to look forward to, something to have normalcy for our kids, and also our prayers at night that we do. And we do our UU prayers, and we do our cute little Unitarian Universalist, and just continuing to share that with my kids and help them understand how grateful we need to be still for all that we have here in our country where others don't.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this holy conversation with me today. And so blessings to you and your family and to all of us in these unusual days. And hopefully we will see you soon again on Zoom. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you. Stay safe.
You too. Bye-bye. Unfortunately, social distancing means that many among us have lost our sources of income. But whether we're in a position to make a financial offering or not, each and every one of us has something valuable to give. It could be sharing poetry, making drawings, picking up the phone or sending an email to friends or a family member or a neighbor to check in and see how they're doing. Maybe you'd enjoy being a pen pal and could write letters to kids in the congregation or in your family or anyone else during these days when we're all largely stuck at home. For those of us who still can financially, we hope that you will give generously to UUCB each week, even when we can't gather in person. We are still honoring our commitment as a congregation to our Good Neighbor organizations who need our support now more than ever. This month, we're sharing half of our offerings with the East Bay Center for the Blind so that we can support the difference they're making in our wider communities. The East Bay Center for the Blind is an innovative, grassroots nonprofit that seeks to empower blind and visually impaired individuals who are underserved by traditional agencies. Our offerings, however large or small, are given and received with deep gratitude. If you wish to make an offering this week, or if you wish to send a donation to the minister's discretionary fund to help UUCB members who need financial support during this crisis, or if you'd like to pay your pledge, you can always send cash or a check through the mail. We do have staff coming in to receive mail and process basic finances even while we shelter in place. Or you can give online. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you.
And now, please join me in dedicating our offering with the words printed on your screen. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
And now a few announcements. First, as we shelter in place and go out only as needed, some of the less vulnerable among us are coming forward to run necessary errands for those who cannot or should not go out. This is very generous because, in fact, no one is immune to serious illness from this virus. We thank these volunteers for their loving assistance. If you are older or for any other reason are higher risk, please contact us rather than go out yourself and risk infection. We may be able to help you connect with available delivery services. And we will shop and deliver to you in person if that is the best solution. There should be directions now on your screen for how to contact Susan Lankford, who is coordinating our congregation's effort to deliver groceries to those who need them. We want to be sure that everyone has the essentials to weather this difficult time. Also, the next time you see her on Zoom or talk to Susan on the phone, please thank her for volunteering to help our community in this special way. Thank you, Susan. The second announcement I have for you today has to do with our stewardship campaign. As you may remember, our work to gather pledges of financial support from everyone in the congregation had just gotten going before the pandemic shut things down. We know that many among us have lost some or even all of their income right now. It's hard to know how much any of us will be able to give in the future when the future is so uncertain. So, after careful consideration, and given how much is still unfolding before us, your board of trustees has decided to extend the stewardship campaign until the end of the church year. If you've already made your pledge, thank you so much. If you have yet to make your pledge but are in a position to do so, we certainly encourage you to go ahead and send it to us, either by mail or by filling out the online form on our website. But instead of trying to wrap up pledging by the end of March, we are hoping to finish by the end of June. Finally, if you have lost your income due to the pandemic, please contact one of the ministers. Reverend Christian and I will be happy to provide you with a financial aid from the minister's discretionary fund. That's what it's for. We are also already receiving more generous gifts from many in the congregation specifically for this purpose. It will take a few days to prepare checks, so please let us know sooner rather than later if you could use some financial help. And now, a word from the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, President of the Unitarian Universalist Association.
Hello, dear ones. I'm Susan Frederick Gray, President of your Unitarian Universalist Association, and I'm coming to you from my home, where I and all of us at the UUA are moving to virtual operations and working from home. As we navigate these incredibly difficult and uncertain times for our country and our global community, I want you to know that I am holding you and all of our congregations, our members, our leaders, our people in my heart. I pray that you are making time to tend to your own heart and your own spirit. Take gentle care of yourselves. It is really easy to feel overwhelmed or inadequate or caught in fear these days. With all of the anxiety, grief, and fear that is real in this time, I believe that pastoral care and connecting across physical distance will be ever more important. As you tend to your own community and to each other, remember to take time to slow down, to breathe, to lean into your mission as a community and to the needs of your community. There really is no script for these times, and no one practice will work for all congregations. Leaning into mission, taking a time to slow down and think about what's most important can help guide you in this time. And remember that we're all learning here, trying new things and adapting as the news changes and conditions change. Perfection is never the goal. The goal is to care for one another and to live compassionately and mindful that we are in this together and that we are one human community and one UU community. Know that your care and intention for one another really make a difference in this time, both to the people you know and love as well as for your own well-being. I'm enormously grateful for all of you and your commitment to one another and to our wider faith. It's times like these when we feel how deeply important our living tradition is and how much we need one another. I love you all so much. I'm proud of the way that Unitarian Universalists are taking this situation seriously and responding out of deep care. I'm proud of the ways that we are putting compassion and community care at the forefront of all we do. I am with you all in this time. I too am finding my way bit by bit. As the weeks go on, our needs may change, but let us remember how important it is to be bound together in religious community, connected to one another and offering both our care and our stories and sources of resilience and hope for this time. I love you all. Be well. Take good and gentle care of yourselves. Many blessings to each and every one of you.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children,
And now to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish our chalice with the words of Christian mystic Julian of Norwich. If there is anywhere on earth a lover of God who is always kept safe, I know nothing of it, for that was not shown to me. But this was shown, that falling and rising again, we are always kept in the same precious love. And now, may you not only hold up in these days, but feel yourself held up by that precious love that holds us all. And now, our worship has ended, and our service begins.
Thank you.